Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you. You get fairy dust. I get fairy dust. Little Amelie's here with us. She gets some fairy dust too. And this is another video about my experience in treatment with my eating disorder. As you know, I'm compulsive overeater, binge eating disorder, and bulimia. I have, all of that. Okay. I left off last with a story. I'm in treatment now, and for my bulimia, because I cannot stop binging and purging all day long. And they have us, it's kind of like stereotypical of like, if you watch a movie with people in rehab, like they're stereotypically doing art sometimes. And so we definitely did that art therapy. And I'm going to tell you about a particular piece of art therapy that I did. It's so funny. Oh my God. Okay, so we are making collages. So we're making collages, and I think the suggestion was make a collage that represents how you want your future to be, like what you want your future to look like. So you could that was before they called them vision boards, whatever. So, we had tons of magazines, and we're just tearing out pictures and gluing them on our paper or whatever. And so I was cutting out these pictures, and I wanted to visualize myself in these pictures of women, wanted to visualize myself in the collage pictures, right? So in the pictures from the magazine. So I did what anyone would do, and I cut off their heads. I was like, oh, this whatever, powerful person, but it's not me, so I'm gonna cut off. It sounds terrible when you say it out loud, but at the time I'm just thinking, this makes so much sense. This makes so much sense. And so I end up with this collage of a fucking 6 beheaded women. Oh my God, it sounds so fucking crazy. Okay. But at the time, little Elizabeth was feeling really good about this and feeling like, oh, this is great. And the art therapist, so then we would process it. And so the art therapist was like, hey, what, explain that. I'm explaining mine. I'm holding it up, and I'm like, well, this is going to be so exciting in my future. Like this. And, she looks at me with this fucking face, concerned. And I'm just like, okay, I just talked about all good shit, how rosy my future is going to be and all this shit. And she goes, but you cut off their heads. And I said, I know, because I want to be the one. I did that so I could project me onto those pictures. And she didn't. She just said, but you cut off their heads. And that forever left me angry and frustrated and ashamed. I left that feeling very upset and embarrassed and also angry. She wasn't hearing me. She didn't get that what I was trying to do was not behead them, but again, to picture myself in these roles. And so it really bothered me until much later in my therapy work, with the therapist that I have now, I realized I'm a dissociative bitch. Sorry, but a dissociation is when it's a trauma response to checking out mentally. So if I'd give anything if I could see that. I'd give anything if I could see that collage right now. Oh, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. Anyway, because you know I tore that shit up immediately after that. Fuck her. She doesn't understand, you know, and I'm smarter than the art therapist. Like, she doesn't understand. Okay, so dissociation response or freeze response is a trauma response, just like fight or flight. It's freeze. So it's a way that animals survive and humans survive when they can't get away from the scary, stressful object. And so people usually refer to it as a bear. So you fight the bear. So you're going to punch the bear and try to get away. You're going to punch the bear and try to defeat the bear so the bear can't hurt you, or you're going to run the fuck away and GTFO and get out. But some of us would, deer in headlights, just freeze. Like, that's our initial response. What's the name for it? It's like you lose touch with your body, and like you can't move. Sadly, this happens to people when they're women being attacked, women or men who are being attacked and, you know, sexually accosted. And then they feel guilty later when they actually were just having a freeze response. Like, feel guilty for not getting away or fighting or something like that. Not all, but if some do. And I think of that as part of the trauma. Like, part of the trauma of that is that you went into freeze response, which you didn't have a choice. Freeze response has us, we don't have freeze response. Okay. So I learned growing up that a way to manage my stress was to not be here mentally. And I later learned that another word for that is dissociate. So I just check out. I'd also shut down, which is another like level of freeze response, which is like when stressful and hard shit happens, I just tend to like can't move, can't whatever. So, you know, like, I just need to watch TV today, or I just need a break. I don't want to go outside today, whatever. But I'm not depressed. I'm just kind of shutting down. Okay. So that piece of art that I made was telling that, she could have been a little bit more savvy to know that, a little bit more savvy to think like, well, maybe she's dissociative and I should talk to her about it, but she wasn't, and that's fine. Maybe that wasn't her job or whatever, or maybe I couldn't hear it. Who knows why things happen the way they do, but later I learned, like, oh, that's the freeze response. Oh, that's dissociating. And so I'm here, I'm physically present with you, neck down, but I'm not mentally. How many times did I talk to people and just like, I have no I can't remember names. I can't, what do we talk about? Like, because I was so stressful to me, I just check out. So what that has to do with my eating disorder is, well, that did happen in treatment for my eating disorder. But I dissociated with food. Food was, it's almost like, well, how can I say this? It's almost like the food was like a booster, a dissociative booster. And if you watched my videos, you already know that I have had my eating disorder since I was very, very young, as long as I can remember. And that I learned early that food could help me dissociate. Food could help me check out. And when you think about the other side of freeze mode, freeze checking out mentally, freeze also not moving your body. Like for me, one of the things they talked to us in treatment was about how much we exercise and stuff, and I didn't exercise hardly at all. Like, in my mind, like, why would I? Like, if I can throw up, like, why would I exercise? Dysfunctional thought. Fix that if you have that. Go heal that if you have that. That's part of my bulimia and part of my freeze mode. And so I let the food help me check out if I'm just like, and TV too, TV. both of those together was like the secret formula of how I dissociated. I can check out on my own, but for long periods of time, it'd just be useful to use food in that way. And the other side of it is the body, like the large quantities of food that I would eat. Remember, I didn't purge until I was like in 19 or 20. I didn't start that part of it. And so food was physically weighing me down. It was, the weight that I was carrying around was a kind of, in my mind, this isn't official or researched, but in my mind, it's like, it was helping me freeze. I'm not going to be, I would stay in the house and, didn't have friends and, just a walking, talking shame, But I mention this in case you're this way, that, during a binge, it's like a trance, it's just like a trance of just like constant eating. And then for me, purging as well. Purging, I would think, is, again, this is just me thinking about this, is a flee response. So you got to get away. I got to get away from that food. I got to get away. I got to get it out of me. I got to hurry to get rid of it. Like and it makes sense to me that I didn't do that in childhood. Now that I'm talking to you about it, that just clicked for me. So as you heal from your eating disorder, you can think about how your trauma responses, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, interplay with your eating disorder, and how your eating disorder, whichever one it is, or all of it, or whatever, helped you possibly dissociate. Again, it's not going to resonate with everybody, but for me, it definitely does. And so I still make collages. It's part of my, whatever people might call it, their meditation practice. I call it my, journaling time, or my contemplative practice. And none of the women are beheaded. I finally put my head back on my body, and I have more and more and more moments where I am fully checked into my life, and it's a fucking fairy tale ending for me. Like, that's so fucking huge. Another part, before I leave you, of the dissociative piece is the ruminating about getting food, or when you'll get the food. So one of my things so before I got into recovery, I tried to stop, right? And so it's like I try to stop, and I have to admit, sometimes in recovery, like, okay, I'm on my program, I'm in recovery, I'm abstinent, whatever, I'm sober, and then I go to work, and about 3 p.m. I'd be like, I would just start have obsessive thoughts, like, oh, if I could just stop at X, Y, or Z, I can go binge. Like, okay, no, don't do it. Don't do it. You've got 2 days sober. Don't do it again. You're done. Yeah, but I could get sober the next day. I could go, so that's how my eating disorder works in my brain. Those are the addictive thoughts that come up for me when I'm starting to feel stress. And you can see, am I checked in my job? No. Am I checked in? No. I'm thinking about how to get what I need. I'm thinking about how to get my fucking fix. And as I'm doing that, I'm not checked in. And so I don't know if anybody else has made the connection about how dissociation kind of goes hand in hand, not only with our addiction, but all addictions. There is a dissociative piece to it. I mean, why the fuck do people do drugs? They want to check the fuck out, So I hope that was helpful. That's my second story. And then next time I'll just catch you up about what happened after treatment and the process through with that. Okay. Love you. Bye. Hope that was helpful. Bye.